All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the final video in the Zendesk.com homepage series. We are going to be focused exclusively on mobile optimization in this episode. Before we get started, I want to scroll down and show you, a lot of people asked about the slider right here. There were some things that Bricks does by default, like setting a max width of 100%, that were interfering with the slider. You can see that it's still not perfect. There's a slight jump when the slider resets. We can get rid of that completely. But what I'm going to do is do because when you're trying to do this in Bricks defaults add some complication to this kind of thing that aren't there when you just write the CSS yourself. So I'm going to do a dedicated video on creating one of these animated sliders in Bricks, but I'm going to do that on the Geary.co channel. So if you're not subscribed to the Geary.co channel, I would highly recommend you go subscribe over there, and I will do a tutorial dedicated to that effect on that channel over there. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into mobile optimization. First thing I'm going to do is go to this XL breakpoint, and I just want to see what's already happening. Let's just scope things out, see what's going on in terms of mobile. And the first thing I'm seeing here is all the space in these sliders right here. And I know, just because I work with these sliders all the time, that there's a minimum height set on them. So the first thing I'm going to do, we're not going to need that minimum height. I'm going to go in on the class to the options, and you can see it right there is 50 VH. I'm just going to set that to auto, and I'm going to go into the media slider as well, and I'm going to set that to auto. And then what I'm going to do is, inside of the content wrapper, I am going to align that content down to the middle. I'm going to do that in the media wrapper as well, just to cross T's and dot I's. And I'm probably going to end up putting let's put some padding in here as well. So I'm going to say that I'm just going to do content gap. I'm actually going to use content gap as our padding here. And I'm going to do that on our media wrapper as well. And then when we go down onto mobile, now we can see that min height is not affecting this slider anymore. And that's actually much better. Okay, so let's just keep going we're just taking a look at the XL breakpoint first, kind of take a look at everything at XL. And there's really nothing crazy going on at the XL breakpoint. Our fancy grid down here still looks good. Literally everything is fine at XL. So nothing that needs to be done here. So I'm going to go down to L at 991, and you're going to see that we've got a header breaking here. This header is still fine up here. That little menu is still fine there, but we're going to need to jump over to the header. And this is one of those times where it's like in the page builder, it is a little bit annoying that I can't just click and edit the header. Like I've got to open another instance of the builder to go there. I really wish that they would find a way to improve that. So since that is the case, I'm not going to touch that right now. I'm just going to keep looking at the rest of the page. I think generally all this stuff is fine. You could make the case that at this particular breakpoint, this should probably be centered. You could probably make the case for that. So I'm going to go ahead and center it, and I'm going to go to typography, and I'm going to center all the typography. I think that makes the most sense there, which it's really annoying because you're probably going to want to do this here as well. That needs to be like that. Okay, perfect. And then we're good. All right. I'm just going to keep going down the page. I know that this has a minimum height on it, which was set on the desktop. Should we adjust that? A lot of this stuff is just going to be, I think it makes sense to maybe drop it to 600 there. Okay, let's keep going down. Our slider is still, well, we're going to see what Zendesk.com did as well. We're going to take a look at how they've chosen to do things. Let's go and see on mobile. Okay, they're good there. So they do allow the text to break to 2 lines, which it doesn't look fantastic, but it is what it is. When it gets really small, they get rid of the text altogether. So I'm going to go ahead and let's figure out where we want to do that, right? You could make a case for doing it here. I think we definitely need to do it there. We definitely need to do it here. So, but we're just dealing with this breakpoint right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I don't want any orphans. So I'm going to come in here, and the way to prevent orphans, which is a little bit manual, you could do it with text wrap balance, but balance is a little heavy-handed. Text wrap pretty is really what we're looking for, but support for text wrap pretty is just not there. The way that I do it is I add a non-breaking space between the last two words. And the way you do that is with the ampersand NBSP, which stands for non-breaking space, and then a semicolon. And you're going to notice that what that does is it joins the last two words together so that when there's a line break, those two words will break together. That is the manual way to do it, but it's also the most accurate way to do it. And visually, it does not, nobody can tell that there's a non-breaking space there. It just prevents orphans. I'm also, while I'm here, going to adjust the line height a little bit. When there's just two lines, especially at that font size, I'm just not a huge fan of like a lot of line space. So I'm going to go to 1.2 and I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. Okay. At the next breakpoint down, we'll get rid of these labels, but I think here it makes sense to keep them. I think this looks just fine. I think this looks just fine here. I mean, you could make a case that we're starting to get into the territory where we need to, and let's go to the front end, and let's actually see where that is. So this says 991, but really, remember, this is a range from 991 down to 767. So if we get all the way down to, we're within that breakpoint now. And so we're looking, and that actually is fine in that breakpoint. But when you get down towards the end of it, I mean, it is starting to get pretty cramped. Okay, but I think we can get away with it. We'll adjust it if we need to, but we'll just keep that for now. Is fine. All right, we're coming down. I think all of this is fine right here. I'm concerned that this is breaking out and I would say that this needs to stack at this point. It's getting too close to the edges. If we go vertical column here, I think we're going to be much safer. Let's keep that. You know what's definitely breaking here is this grid. This is where we really need to start to think about changing our grid. And if we look on Zendesk, how they've decided to handle it. So here they are. And as we come in to that breakpoint we were just looking at, they switch to this. So they're putting those images down below. They're still staggered, but they're all basically more or less across two rows here, okay? There's still a gap. So what I'm gonna do, I think the easiest way to handle this, we're gonna go get all the code that we used for that grid. I'm gonna copy it, and I'm gonna migrate it over to this breakpoint simply to make it easy to manipulate. And the first thing that I know needs to happen is this content wrapper block needs to start on column 1 and go all the way to the end, which is -1, okay? And so that's taking up the entire main column, right? And then the grid row, that's what we have to figure out. So this is a 6-row grid. It ends on line 7. And so if we want to give these images, which need to span 2 rows, and they need to start staggered. So I think that's 3 rows. I'm just trying to conceptualize this in my mind. So 7, 6, 5, 4. So this needs to go from 1 to 4, basically. And then we need to take all the images and just get them to start down below. Like right now, they're starting in row 1 and row 2, whatever. So we need to get them down to start around, went from 1 to 4. So, which I think should be 5. We'll figure all this out in a minute. I need to start all these on 5. If I can get all of these on 5, we won't have anything overlapping our main content, which is good because then we can start to make sense of this stuff. Okay. And if everything starts on, if we just put them all next to each other in terms of columns, we can actually see all of our images. 6, 7, and then it'll be easier to kind of just figure out what's going on here. The other thing is we're not going to need all these images. All right, so 9, 10. All right, so there's all of our images right there. The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that all of our images are able to grow to fill the cell. So I'm going to put a height of 100% on here. Actually, I maybe can just do flex grow and get away with that. That would be safer. No. All right, so I'll do height of 100%. Now it's actually spanning 2. Let's make sure width of 100% is fine as well. Let's do object fit of cover, which is already done. Okay, perfect. So now what we want to think about is, first of all, we want to get rid of some images. There's way too many images to put, like, notice when they did theirs, they don't have that many images. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? We might even just go with 6. So because we have 18 rows, more or less, it goes to 19 is the last numbered count. So let's go with 6, because 18 divided by 3 is 6. So let's go with 6 items. And the way to get rid of our, the way to get rid of the last 3, let's say, or I think we have 10 right now, so the last 4, is just to display none of them. It'd be nice if I could talk. If my brain could communicate what's going through it currently, that would be even better. So 10 and 9 definitely go away. That leaves us with 8 items. We want 6 items, though. Maybe we bring that 7th item back. I got to take a look at it. We'll see. Now we have 6 items to work with. Okay, so if there's 6, the column span now is going to be 3. So I just say span 3, because 6 times 3 is 18, right? 3, 3, 3, and 3. The others are display none. That's good. Now, what column number do we want them to start on? Well, that starts on 1. So this needs to go 3. That's to 4. Then we go to 7. Then we go to 10. Then we go to 13, 16. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Like, we're looking really good here. Okay. Now we got to figure out how to stagger, right? So go to, this is going to be their row start. We could try 5. If it spans 2, that goes to 7, which is to the end of the grid. So if I start this on 4, I should get the staggering. Trying to figure out why that overlaps up there. Oh, because 5. Yeah. Okay, we can fix that. That's easy, okay? That's easy. 4, 5. Yeah, I'm liking this. Okay, let's go down to our content and just simply make that 4. I think that's really good. I think that's more or less what we need. I feel like these are a little taller than they need to be. I don't know if we can fake our grid here. Like, if I add a 7th row, okay, it's not going to shrink those. If I take away a row, what's it going to do? It's going to make those not able to span to the end. So I don't think we can manipulate that, but what we can manipulate is maybe the max height of our media. So the max height of our media being 140, 150, 160. Like, they're still overlapping, but there's still good rhythm, and they're not stretched too much. I think that's pretty good. If we want those to touch the edge of the screen, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to remove the inline padding here. And we're going to want to add that our gutter padding. And this is where Automatic CSS just comes in really handy. The content wrapper right here, we want to add gutter padding, right? Well, how much space is your gutter? And that's a clamp function, by the way. Don't know, but I don't need to know, because if I just use the variable section padding X, that's my gutter variable, right? And so now that has the gutter. So that's going to be protected from touching the edges of the screen, while these images in this grid are allowed to go and touch the edge of the screen. So now we're going to check this at the breakpoint down, and we're going to see, hey, that's still looking really good. And then we get to here and we say, okay, those are definitely stretched too much. The question is, how do we want to go about fixing this? We could go in here and just use the max height again and just go down to something like 120 or 90. Now, they're not going to be overlapping anymore, but at that point, I don't know if it really matters. But what we could also do here, instead of doing that, let's go ahead, go back here. It wouldn't be too terribly difficult to steal our grid, bring it down to this lowest breakpoint, get rid of all this stuff that doesn't need to change. Now we're just working with the stuff that does need to change. If we go from 6 images to 3, let's display none. And then let's bring this into here, display none and display none. Just leave me with 3 images now. And if I span 6, because we still have 18 columns that we're working with, I can span 6 on these. And then this is going to be 7, 13. And look at that. Let's get that grid overlay gone. That looks, it's fine. It's fine, right? Now you could say maybe you want to cram 4 images in there instead of that, whatever. It's up to you. I'm just showing you how these grid area manual grids can be manipulated at various breakpoints to deal with overflow issues, change layouts, whatever really needs to happen. I mean, look what we started with, right? Look what we started with, and we got to something completely and utterly different, right? With the same exact grid, just by doing, different placements. So I think that's good. We've eliminated our overflow issues. And now at this M breakpoint, this M breakpoint's good to go for sure. No issues there whatsoever. And so we're ready to go down to the next breakpoint. So with this breakpoint, I definitely think it makes sense to start aligning this stuff back to the left. So let's go left there. Let's go to text align left. We can go in here, text align left, and back to align main axis to the left. That grid that gap right there is absolutely out of control. Just bring that down to content gap now. Still looking good. All right, this is where we're going to get rid of these labels. All right, so let's go into content, type, style. Now we got to go into layout. Display of none is going to get rid of those labels there. Let's see what they did in terms of that slider. Okay, so they've basically stacked everything. I don't even think we need to do that. But what I do think we can do is we can flip-flop this grid. So it's a grid 3-2. And we can go actually to a grid 1-3, which is going to completely flip-flop this. And then bring the media wrapper into the small side by going order -1. And then we can tone down the gap by just going to a content gap. And I think what you're seeing there is just the builder is having trouble rearranging things on the fly. So I think a little bit of a refresh. Yeah, there we go. Little bit of a refresh does the trick. Let's go ahead and align all of these items to the top. And now we can just probably take out, remember we put some padding in the content wrapper and the media wrapper. We don't need that anymore. We can just zero that out. And in the media wrapper, we can zero that out as well. I think. Let me take a look at this after we do this. Okay, there's a top. In the top, we can just throw some padding in there of like space M. And actually, we don't even need it on the bottom because the slider down here already has some spacing. That all looks really good. And I think that's going to continue scaling down just fine. But I think that's good for now. Let's look down here. This definitely needs to break now. So very easy. Go from a grid 2 to a grid 1. And then if we remember back here, I think if we go to custom CSS, See, this was grid row span 3. We only want that to happen at 767 and up. So we can fix this by just wrapping it in a min width media query, targeting 767. If I can type, wow, 767, pop it in there, and we don't even have to worry about it doing anything bad on mobile. It's only gonna affect that breakpoint and up. So now we come down here, we don't have any overflow, we don't have a broken grid, we still have a featured card, and then we still have our wide cards below that. Everything is stacking nicely now. That's gonna continue to look great down to the lower breakpoints, except for maybe, what is the size of this heading? So we've got a calc on this heading of H2 divided by 1.4. This is a wide card. Did I affect the heading here? I did. Look at this. Text M times 1.7. Okay, resource card heading. Down here, I can just paste that in. And just change this to a normal H3 size. That's all we need to do there. I think we're good. And this can be a normal H3 size as well. Excellent. So now all those are the same, more or less. And they're going to be the same all the way down. I think we're good there. Okay, let's continue on. This looks good. At this breakpoint, I'm thinking we can even, well, we might stack them at the next breakpoint down. Because I think we are going to maybe run out of horizontal room for this icon to be at least that big and to the left. We might stack that in a minute. I'm not really liking how these are going here. I'm going to go ahead and stack this here as well. So our stat grid, we're going to stack. That's a grid 3. We just go to grid 1 here. So we'll just select the stat card and just say, hey, align all that to the left. Just to be safe, we'll text align everything to the left as well. And now I'm seeing that that's going to kind of throw that balance off. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with these wide icon cards. So we're going to text align left. Actually, we don't even need to do that here. We can just go grid 1. We can go content gap. Make sure that that's nice. I hate what they did with these icons. The extra, see, it's why you should never put extra space baked into the image file of the icon. I mean, that is just absolutely terrible practice that they did there. So I think because of that, I might as well just want to get rid of the gap. But look how the icon's going to be like offset inside of the edge of our text because of that hard-coded padding into the image. That's just, never do that. Never, ever. I think I mentioned that in like the first episode, right? When I stole these from their site. This is why you don't do that kind of stuff. Because now I can't get proper alignment on these things now because of that. But I think that's all nice and clean, the way that that degrades all to the left-hand side. Could probably keep this centered here. Could probably keep this centered here. Let's go down to the very last breakpoint. We need to get rid of that hamburger up top at this breakpoint. That's all going to be in our header. All right, I'm liking this. Ooh, I think right here, we need to go 100% with these buttons. So the inline buttons, we want to go 100%. There we go. All right, so that's fixed. Come down, come down. I like. I don't think this needs to be quite 600 now. Let's do auto min height and then just drop some padding in here. So space L and space L, all good. This is still, well, now I think you can make the case here that we just go to a grid 1. And let me refresh and see what that's looking like. Okay, drop this down, come down, okay. Yeah, I think that's more or less fine. We'd have to test this on a real device. I don't know if the height of this is going to push this content too low on a real device. That's one thing we would want to check. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this tutorial, but it's something I would definitely check. Because if it is, you're going to want to just put a cap on the width of this. So see how these icons down here are just kept nice and small, you would kind of want to do the exact same thing with this. I think this is fine for right now, but I would test it on a real device. If there is a problem, I would just bring its width down so it looks more like an icon kind of thing above this text. That's all that would need to happen there. So I think this works good. There's no horizontal overflows. I've been checking for that the entire time. Everything looks really, really, really clean. I would probably now, to kind of match what's going on in the header, bring this stuff over to the left-hand side. Keep those 100% width. Everything in the footer's fine. Let's hop over to the header, and we should be close to wrapping this thing up. So I'm going to come down to here. And we're kind of running out of room here, but you know, it is what it is. Right there for sure. So let's go into the main. Let's go to our nav. What do we want? We want, the mobile menu. Show menu at L991. Yeah, no, that's correct. There was a little delay in what Bricks was doing. Okay. The main nav layout, I'm going to go with auto here. And we want to remove the right margin. That's going to allow that to be on the left-hand side where it should be as a hamburger menu. The whole top section at this point, well, it's still good at this, but at this breakpoint, whole top section can go. So we're just going to display none on that. And now our header's fixed. Okay. I think here you're probably going to make the case that at this breakpoint right here, the mobile menu, it's this toggle right here. Okay. I was wondering where I don't use this very often. Okay. So height, 4 pixels, 3 pixels, make it a little skinnier there. 1 pixel on the radius. And then are we just going to do a width of something? That's not going to help. How do they want us? This is why I do not like the Bricks menu builder. I do not like it at all. Scale. 0.7, 0.8. There we go. I was just feeling that was a little too big. That's a little bit more manageable. Okay. All right, let's go to the front end. Not the header template. That's not what we want. We want the home page. Okay. So now we're going to inspect, and we're going to see on desktop. Obviously, everything's looked great on desktop for a while. We're going to bring this in. No collisions. I'm looking for collisions. Look at that. We do get collisions. See, the builder preview of where we broke this right here did not break early enough. Even though in the builder it looked like it did, it actually needs to break right here. So I'm going to go to mobile menu. We're going to show this at XL. And here again, I need to take off the right margin. And I need to auto the width. And I need to go back. This is the problem with those kind of breakpoint adjustments. We need to go back to our toggle. 0.8 here, 3, and 1. Save. Okay. Now let's go back to where we were having the collision a second ago and refresh. And now we do not get any collision whatsoever. So we're good to go there. We're going to keep bringing that in. Okay. Our top goes away. All of that is looking good. Okay. And that's 401, 400. Looks like there's something causing a little bit of overflow here. We're just going to scroll and try to see if we can, it's that image right there. So once again, something that looked decent in the builder. Let me get rid of that. Let's refresh this and bring this down to here-ish. Yeah. Okay. So this image right here, does it have a width on it? Yeah, it does. No. What do we want? 200 convert to rem? Or just do 20 rem. It was already a 24 rem. I can just do 20 rem. Okay, that's good there. See, I'm not getting any overflow in the browser. Let's just put it at 18 rem just to be safe. Now let's go back to where we were down here and refresh. Oh, that's That's the real homepage. Let's do this one. All right. Let's go down, 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 down. Where was it? Okay. Refresh. Definitely no overflow there. There is still something causing, and I wonder if it's that grid. We can fix this by just, this whole entire section right here can be set to overflow hidden. Save. Okay. Refresh. There we go. That's what was causing it. But now I'm wondering why that is still touching the edges. Well, it should be allowed to touch the edges. Here, social proof grid. Let's do end instead of -1. And that makes it even worse. So I think we can fix this by, it's the span -1 thing on here. And both end and -1 are not working for this. I'm gonna do 18. Save, refresh. There we go. Okay. I'll just be honest with you. -1 is supposed to be to the end of the grid. I don't know why that would be causing an overflow if it's just going to the end of the grid. It could have something to do with these images down here. I may have made a mistake on a span or something like that, but I'm able to fix it. I'm able to resolve the issue by simply saying 18 instead of -1. So if there's an implicit cell that's kind of sitting out there beyond the edge of the container and -1 is going into that cell, at least just saying 18, it's going to stop at 18, which is inside of the parent container. So we can still prevent the overflow that way, even though -1 or end should technically work. In this case, I think there's a little something off in the grid, so that doesn't work, but it's not going to be a deal breaker for us because I still have control of the span of that item. I can just set it to 18 and be done with it. And so now you see we have a completely responsive website. We've pretty much taken care of everything. And that's going to be the end of this video. It's going to be the end of this series. Here's one little thing I just saw. Those items are going to be too close together for accessibility reasons. So I'm going to hop over here, and at that breakpoint, I am going to say, and actually, when do those stack? Okay. They probably stack at this breakpoint, and that's in the footer, so we got to go into the footer area to edit that. All right, so I'm going to go to here and here and here. This is really where they stack in real life. So I'm going to grab this list, and I'm going to see that doesn't look like there's any gap there. Let's go content gap. And then when we see it collapse, now we've got plenty of clickable space in here. And in fact, I may want to go content gap all around, and that's going to give a little bit more inline clickable space as well. That's probably the way to go with that. Save. Okay, and with that last adjustment, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys got, let me go back to camera here. I hope you guys got a lot out of this series. Is my hat okay? Are we good? I hope you guys got a lot out of this series. Drop a comment below if you have any questions. You know, this was a long way. It's a pretty intricate, pretty complex homepage. We did a lot. There was a lot that, you know, you guys hopefully picked up along the way. I'm excited to do another series like this. If you have any websites that you want to, you know, send in and say, hey, I'd love to see you do this one, I'm all ears, right? I don't want to have to find them on my own. I do know that Tommy, my designer and the creator of frames for Figma, we're going to be working together to show you guys an entire process of wireframing and frames for Figma, UI design in frames for Figma, and then development in bricks. That's going to be a fantastic new series coming very, very soon in 2024. So keep an eye out for that. But again, if you have anything you want to send in as examples or inspiration, I'm happy to take a look at all of that stuff. For now, and until next time, peace. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. Keep practicing. Keep getting better. Keep making that money. See you very, very, very soon.